friends, can we talk about the latest Dragonball FighterZ patch that recently came out? Now that we've had a little bit of time with it, now that we've all kind of acclimated to it, let me know your thoughts about it in the comments down below. How do you feel about the changes made to weaker characters, but most of all, how do you feel about the changes made to stronger characters like Android 21 and the labcoat? That's really what the conversation today is all about, because recently there was a little bit of a tournament that happened where Android 21 and labcoat was not banned. And despite being nerfed, Android 21 and labcoat was still very prominent on a lot of people's teams. And to be 100% honest, to no one's surprise, because she's still a really powerful character. Despite the fact that you can no longer combo into the nerf, she can still reliably get the nerfs off. Not to mention the fact, even though the scaling on a lot of her moves was nerfed, she still dishes out ridiculous amounts of damage. So even with all the changes, she's still one of the best characters in the game, if not the best character in the game even still. But this patch wasn't all about her. Sure, she was the focus, sure, she's what a lot of people had their eye on, but a lot of other characters got a lot of great changes. Like some of the weaker characters. You know, with Yamcha being able to do his dash after the Wolfang Fist, Krillin got some adjustments to his, little after image technique, which make him a lot more of a threat and a lot more kind of difficult to block. But not only that, they also made some universal changes to how people can super dash after a beam. And I found it interesting that Android 21 in a labcoat didn't necessarily receive this same treatment. You see, if you don't know, if you shoot a beam like, a Kamehameha, then you can follow it up with a super dash and you're all good. Even the original Android 21 can do this with her little ball, which isn't a beam. But Android 21 in the labcoat cannot do this. If she super dashes after a beam, you can nail her and punish her real bad. And I found that really interesting because in this specific case, they chose specifically to exclude her from that buff in order to kind of limit and mitigate some of the pressure that she otherwise would have had. Could you imagine dealing with all the pressure she already exudes plus that? Like, my god, how many tools would she need if she got that as well? If you can't open somebody up with like her bajillion different low attacks and her overheads as well and her command grabs, like, come on, what are you doing? You don't need that too, she doesn't need that. So looking overall at the patch, at all the characters, I like this patch. I think it's a great adjustment to the game. Yeah, don't get me wrong, there's certain things I'm not the biggest fan of, and certain things I feel can still use tweaking, but generally speaking, I think this did a great job. It took a lot of the weaker characters that people didn't really utilize all that much and brought them a little bit closer in line with other stronger characters. This doesn't mean that they're top tier, they don't have to be, right? It's okay for a fighting game to have low tiers and high tiers, but it certainly makes these characters feel a little bit better when you play them, and that's really all I'm asking for personally. Now, some of the changes that I wasn't the biggest fan of was how they made changes to some strong characters that didn't really need to be made. Now, I don't want any of these characters to be nerfed into the ground. Keep that in mind. But I feel like some of these characters were a little bit over-tuned with some of the previous buffs that they got, and sometimes it seems the developers kind of tripled down on it as well. Like, for example, Z Broly. This dude is a powerhouse. Like, he's already strong enough. Now his lariat pushes you further back on block, which makes it harder to punish if you block it. And Z Broly's arms are so huge, I bet you, I'm calling it right now, if somebody mashes in order to try and punish Broly, the length of his arms are gonna knock you in the mouth before you're able to reach him. I guarantee it. So it's like they triple down on certain buffs for certain characters that really don't need it. Instead of giving Broly an indirect buff like that, or a seemingly small buff like that, why not give Yamcha more? Why not give Tien something? Nobody plays Tien, let's be honest. Why not give Jiren more? Now, don't get me wrong, I don't want these characters nerfed into the ground. I'm completely okay with there being super top tier characters in a fighting game. You need it. I mean, let's be real, you need that. More so my problem with some of the top tiers, not all of them, but some of the top tiers in Dragon Ball FighterZ is they're just not fun to fight against. I'll give you an example, right? I don't personally mind fighting Z Broly. I personally don't mind fighting Android 21, the Majin form. But UI Goku, he's just not fun to fight against. Like, the dude just is not a fun time to fight. For me personally, at least. Because he just gets way too much reward for no effort at all. Like, it's just way too easy to get pretty much a win for doing literally nothing. And that isn't very fun. So that's more so where my focus lies. If any character gets nerfs or buffs, I want it to be for the purpose of fun. I want it to be for obviously I want it to be for balance as well, but I want it to be also for fun. At the end of the day, that's what I'm looking for, personally. I want the characters, I want the engagement, I want the interaction to be more enjoyable for the players. And this means taking top tier characters and making tiny adjustments, not nerfing them into the ground. We don't need a repeat of Android 16 from Season 1. Dude was too strong, got nerfed into the grave. So I'm more of a fan of those little tiny changes, But I really am a fan of buffing weaker characters to bring them more in line with everybody else, to kind of power creep those higher tier characters. And I feel like this patch gave that to me. And that's why, in general, like generally speaking, I love this patch. I think it's great for the game. Don't get me wrong, there certainly are problems with it. There's certainly more adjustments that could be made, and things that I'm not the biggest fan of, but generally speaking, I think it's a good job. But you guys let me know in the comments down below, how do you feel about this patch? Are you enjoying enjoying it? Are there things that you definitely would like changed? How did your favorite characters get affected by this? And how do you feel about Android 21 in the lab coat or some other top tiers? Let me know all that and more in the comments down below. And dudes, if you're new here, feel free to subscribe. We come out with daily content, and you can catch some of those videos on the screen now. So feel free to go ahead and check those out, and I'll catch you guys back here tomorrow. Thanks for watching.